My name is Tomek. I think most of you know me. I do history tours, sightseeing tours in Berlin, in Germany. So whenever you want to come to Germany, you're very welcome to visit and to yeah, get a tour inside Berlin, inside Germany. But more about that later. I do researches since years about the history of Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany, and most of you, I think, watched with me already about Jehovah's Witnesses in a concentration camp like Sachsenhausen, like Dachau, like Auschwitz, or maybe you watched a tour how Jehovah's Witnesses survived the death march from Sachsenhausen and another stories that yeah happened in the Nazi time and also in the communist time in East Germany. So today we will hear the history of Jehovah's Witnesses in a concentration camp in Moringen. And it's a very specific history because today we only talk about women, about female Jehovah's Witnesses. So feel free to join, feel free to invite friends. And this is also live streamed on YouTube. So the friends that are um, members on my YouTube channel can watch it. So how you can watch this later also again, or how you can send it to friends and about my other work. Let's do this on the end. Let's start right now our history tour, our history lesson. And I also want to thank Fumiko for translating into Japanese. So if you listen in English, you have to click on the globe, choose English or choose Japanese, the language that you want to listen to. And here we go. So let's start. Yes, now you can see everything. So the history of Jehovah's Witnesses in Berlin and the topic today, woman of faith inside the concentration camp of Moringen. So as I said, if you watched a few of my videos, then these are the places that we visited together. The Death March, Sachsenhausen, Berlin, Dachau, close to Munich, German branch. But today we go closer in Germany. We go in the middle of Germany, we can really say, in a very small town. And the name of that town is Moringen. It's a beautiful town. My parents live very close. It's in the mountains, in the middle mountains, so not the Alps, not the high one, here in Germany. And inside, in the middle of that town, there is a building that was built 300 years ago as a police workshop, workhouse, and then became a prison. And that building was, when the Nazis start to rule, in the very beginning, a prison camp, a concentration camp for men, but just for a few months only. And then it became the first woman concentration camp, the first female concentration camp. And during the Second World War, it was a youth concentration camp. So this is where they put young people, and we know at least two Jehovah's Witnesses, two young men has been imprisoned also there. But that's a different topic. So we talk today only about the time when this was a female concentration camp from the beginning of the Nazi ruling until close to the beginning of the Second World War. And we're getting closer. And you see it's really in the middle, that building here. It's this one here. A total of 4,000 people were inside that concentration camp for the whole time. So not at one moment, no. And all the years of existence of that camp, we talk about 4,000 people imprisoned. And the very first two women who have been imprisoned were communists. And you can see also that here, when we have this camp here, here is a small street here, and you can walk there. And here were barracks belonging to the camp. So you could walk through the camp. Let's take a look on a different angle here again. So the camp was really a part of the city. This building here across the street is the city hall, was and still is. That's the picture of that time, how this prison and then later concentration camp, yeah, was a part of that city. The man who was running this camp, his name was Hugo Krak. Unfortunately, he was a former history teacher. I love to be a history teacher. So this is really hurting me that how can a history teacher do that? But yeah, there are a lot of questions. How can a Nazi man do what they did? So from November 1933, there are no male prisoners anymore. So there are only women, and he becomes the director of this woman concentration camp. The other man that left was sent to another places, like to Sachsenhausen close. And we have in the beginning a number of 141 women imprisoned in this concentration camp. So this is how it started, 141 prisoners, female prisoners. And in March 1934, it becomes the main central concentration camps for women in Prussia, in Germany. We have a total of 1,350 women over the 5 years when it was a female concentration camp, 1,350 women. And so we see that we have an average of 90 women a month. Unfortunately, we have only data, documents, records, information, written information on almost 700 women. This is very, very important. And based on these 700 documents, written documents, we can say the other numbers. We know there were more, right? But names, when imprisoned and how, all these full documents, we have only for 700. The food was terrible. The food was terrible. One of the prisoners says it was the most unpleasant thing I've experienced in my life. The prisoner clothing that we remember, the stripe one, right, did not existed yet. The Nazis did not invented this clothing. They did not yet. So they were introduced later, which is very important also for that story today. and they were sleeping in large bedrooms. So it was very exhausting. The day rooms, for example, they was not a normal chair, so they have to lean somewhere. No, imagine to sit the whole day somehow was very exhausting for these women. Um, Sleeping was also complicated. They slept in an attic without any heating. They had very boring work. They could not talk together. It was forbidden to talk during work. And so what happens because of all these, and there were only women who were not really fighters, you can say. Um, there were a lot of suicide attempts because of all this monotony, and also didn't know when I will be released, when I get free. Um, some of these women tried to kill themselves. So they were thinking how to change that. So they made gifts like this. They made like a bag. So this is a bag made by a prisoner woman back in the days to show solidarity, to to create the family somehow, right? To make life a little bit more pleasant, a little bit more easier. And it is nice to get a gift, right? It's always nice to get a gift. So this helps a little bit that the life was not so boring. So yeah, has no idea what to do. We also have to remember that not only the clothes do not exist yet, also the triangles for Jehovah's Witnesses, the purple triangles, were also not existing yet. They had started a few years later. So you could also not know who is who, right? Are you here because a communist? Are you here because a Jehovah's Witness? Are you here because of any reasons? But what we know that almost half, exactly 46%, so almost half of the prisoners were Jehovah's Witnesses, right? And 1/4 were communists. So basically, even if we don't have the purple triangle, it's a 50-50 chance you meet a witness, right? You could ask, sorry, are you here because you're Jehovah's Witness? No, no. Oh, so maybe you. Oh, yes. So this is very interesting that we have almost half of the prisoners were Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's the largest group of prisoners here in this camp. And this concentration camp was also different than the other later concentration camps. So that's the first one. I think most of you know the concentration camp of Ravensbrück. That's the infamous one. And we will talk about Ravensbrück next year or after the summer because I also will have a tour about that. So it's different because this concentration camp has a different goal. The goal was education. That's a little bit weird. Whose idea was that? Hugo Krak. He was a teacher, right? So he thought or he intended to educate these women. He has an idea to teach these women how they were supposed to be under the National Socialism, how they have to behave appropriately, how they have to conduct themselves properly. And also, these women, yeah, had, of course, to give up their anti-state attitudes. They have to follow the Nazis. They have to come to him as a teacher and explain this. Yes, I will do this. I will follow that. And he thought that if he will do the strict discipline in this concentration camp, these women will become good fellow citizens of the Nazi state. And then they will regret what they have done until now. So when they leave this camp, when they were allowed to leave this camp, they have been educated and become better person. Why I'm talking about this, why we talk about this, because please remember, we don't talk about children. We don't talk about 10 years old, right? We talk about mothers, grandmothers, women who raise children, women who are, they are adults. They are not stupid. They are not kids. But the way how Hugo Crack is, yeah, thinking about them, that he is the smart one and these women are stupid, so I have to educate them. You see the attitude that he has, right? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. What is a German woman? What is a German woman according to the Nazis? Here you have some advertisement, you can say, marketing stuff the Nazis used and was displayed in Berlin and other cities to show what they think what a German woman should be or how she should behave. So a German woman had to behave calmly, quietly, and modestly. She was to refrain from arrogant demeanors like questioning authority. She has to read Nazi literature. She has to listen to Adolf Hitler's speeches. She has to listen to this commander, what he's explaining. And interesting, she's not allowed to smoke. That's pretty interesting. A German woman is not allowed to smoke. And if these women who have been imprisoned here will not follow this, then they have to stay longer because then this Hugo Krak will give a negative assessment. So yeah, stay longer. Um, and the problem is that Jehovah's Witnesses, these female Jehovah's Witnesses, didn't fit into this pattern. Wait. Why? Didn't I said are Jehovah's Witnesses is or other way? Is it a problem for Jehovah's Witnesses, for female Jehovah's Witnesses to be modest, to have a calm nature, for example, not to smoke? That's a little bit complicated. So, of course, they did not read the Nazi literature. They did not want to listen and follow the Nazi ideology. But yeah, they did also not smoke. What's the problem about this calm and modest stuff? Let's take a look on that picture, on this advertisement. So, where Jehovah's Witnesses had a problem with, did they have a problem to have a lot of kids? No. It's every personal decision if you want 0 kids, 1 kid, or 10 kids, right? That's your decision. But here, the Nazis, as you can see, they wanted the woman to have a lot of kids. So in that picture, one, two, three, four. On that picture, one, two, three, four. So all the pictures showed that you have a lot of kids. But the reason is why? Why you have these kids? Because you want to be a good mother and you want to raise the kids to good people? No, that's not the reason. The main reason why the German woman should have kids is this here. You, it's written here, dem Führer die Jugend. Uh, to the Führer, the youth. So the idea is you give birth to the kid to the kids for Adolf Hitler. So he can use them. You give your kids as a gift to Adolf Hitler, and he can use them for war or whatever. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses said, nope, we won't do that. And that's why the Nazi says, oh, you're not modest, right? Because modesty be in the Nazi thinking, you give these kids to Adolf Hitler and say, no, we will not do this. Kids belong to our God and not to this dictator. So that was the problem. In 1935, we have the first large wave of imprisonment. One of them was Klara Zonklowski. Klara Zonklowski is imprisoned or arrested because she was distributing flyers, how the Nazis were calling this. So when she was arrested, she said, or she declared, that she will not stop campaigning for the Bible students in the future. Think about that. She's arrested because she was preaching. Then she was questioned by the police, and she said, yeah, I did this and I will not stop. Well, no matter what you will do, I will not stop. So that's why she was sent and transferred to the Moringen concentration camp. Another name is Elfriede Sarich. She's also sent to this camp because the Nazis said she is a fanatical supporter of the Jehovah's Witnesses. We have also to say this. Let's take a look on this map. So here we have Moringen, right? Berlin is here with the capital. Here we have Moringen. Here is another concentration camp called Esterwegen. This is where the husbands, because most of the female Jehovah's Witnesses who have been in Moringen, they were wives. They had husbands. And most of the husbands of these women were also in a concentration camp here in Esterwegen. We know that at least at 50% of all cases, both spouses, wife and husband, were affected by the persecution. At least 50%, both of them. But yeah, let's get some more numbers and names. So we got talk about Clara, we talked about Elfriede. Rosina Glaszewski is the name. The Nazis say is that you can't teach her. She, you can't train and teach her to become a better person. And she said a very interesting name. She a sentence. She said that she would rather spend 10 years in prison than associate the name Hitler with the word Heil. Heil means salvation, right? So she said, no, I will never say there's salvation of coming from Adolf Hitler. I would go to prison for 10 years rather than saying this. That's really, to say that in front of the police, that's courage. Or Maria Hrupala. Maria Hrupala said, even if I had to stay in the concentration camp for life, I will never give up my ideas. Even if I had to stay in a concentration camp for life, I would never give up my ideas. Or Elfriede Nikolajczyk, complicated name even for Germans. Um, she said, I can't give up my previous work as a witness, even if I had to give up my life for this idea. I must obey Jehovah more than those who forbid me to do this activity. And then the sentence, I hereby declare that I will continue to spread the word of God even after my release from protective custody. These women, just five names of amazing women who showed real faith and courage to know what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. Oh, where's my? Sorry, I missed my presentation. Here's this. Sorry. 1936. 1936. Now we have significantly less new imprisoned Jehovah's Witnesses. So now in 1936, they are not the largest group anymore. Let me explain this. All Jehovah's Witnesses who have been imprisoned in 1935 were less than 5 months imprisoned. All Jehovah's Witnesses imprisoned after or from 1936 are significantly longer than 5 months in that prison. What is the problem? What was the change? So before that, they served the time and could left the prison. But then something happened. In 1936, in the end of 1936, they refused to work for the Winterhilfswerk, Winter Relief Agency. What is this? What what kind of work is that? We saw already this one, right? So you can see here again the idea what the Nazis want. So the Winterhilfswerk, the Winter Relief Agency or Winter Relief Organization, was an organization organized by the Nazis to help each other because not everybody was rich. Still, there were a lot of poor people. And the idea was that they got food, how you can see here on the right side. And this food were collected by the people, and people gave food. Like, for example, you can see here, they were collecting donations. Here is a woman working. It's in the background is Christmas, and she's helping and giving these gifts to poor families. Here, this sentence is the people help themselves. So great idea. Let's collect what we have too much and let's give it to the poor people. So why the Jehovah's Witnesses did not join? Why that this female Jehovah's Witnesses did not wanted to help and for example do some sewing stuff and make some jackets or something else? The answer is that picture here on the left side. Because the witnesses already knew before what's the real purpose of this winter relief organization. It's war. It's war. We talk about 1936, right? Uh, the war will start in 3 years. But they already understood that everything is to prepare for the war. Because later the Nazis showed here that how the Germans should fight for the war. On the right side, we have the man in war, and on the left side, we have the woman who work hard for the soldiers. So that's why the Jehovah's Witnesses, even it was sold that, yeah, this is for helping poor people and stuff, they knew, no, 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 no. You are doing stuff for war. You prepare for a war. And that's why the whole group of Jehovah's Witnesses in December or winter 36 decided not to support, decided not to work for that, decided not to help. And that's why these female Jehovah's Witnesses were more persecuted inside the camp than the other ones. No contact to family, no packages, isolation, no letters, less food, psychology persecution, and so on. So it was, and then also into solitary confinement, so isolation, prison, just because they don't want to sew a jacket or whatever. So Hugo Krak had an idea. He was a teacher, right? He's a smart guy. He's very intelligent. He thinks he's a proud man. He thinks he's fantastic. So he wants to prove to these Jehovah's Witnesses that the Bible says they have to help. Yes. So Hugo Clark had a discussion with his Jehovah's Witnesses, and Magdalena Meves, she was like the speaker. So he was not discussing with all this 300 women. No, he was talking with that one who represented in front of all the others, Jehovah's Witnesses, and a discussion based on the Bible. That's an interesting thing. Based on the Bible, who's right? Hugo, the Nazis, or Magdalena, the witnesses. So let's start. Let's start. If you have a Bible with you, you can follow this. So we will read some Bible verses. We will not talk about the meaning of the Bible verses. No, we will just read these Bible verses that Hugo read as an argument, and then the answer of Magdalena. She also used the Bible as an argument that he's wrong and she's right. So if you want, take your Bible, follow that. I will read this in English in an old version. Fumiko will read this in Japanese. So you can just follow up. We will not read the whole verses, only parts of it or stuff. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see about this very interesting discussion. So he starts with Isaiah. This is Isaiah. I now realize I should write it full name. Isaiah. So before Jeremiah, 58:7. 58:7, he says that Isaiah said, when thou seest the naked, then thou cover him, and that thou hide not himself from thine own flesh. So, if somebody is poor, you should help him. You see a naked one, give him a jacket. So you, Jehovah's Witnesses, should help poor people. You make these jackets for poor people. And he's continuing, Proverbs 19, verse 17. Proverbs 19, verse 17. He's reading, he that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given will he pay him again. So again, if you have pity about the poor one, the Lord God will support you. You will give a reward. He will pay you for that you are helping the poor one. So you, Jehovah's Witnesses, have to help the poor one and have to work for the Winter Relief Organization. These are strong arguments, right? Strong arguments, yeah. So, how is Magdalena answering? Matthew 7:15. Matthew 7:15. That's pretty smart. It reads, beware of the false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal, right? She said, no, you are a wrong prophet. So Hugo's getting angry. He's getting angry and he's using now Romans 13, verse 1. Romans 13, verse 1, and he's reading, yeah. But God says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. You have to follow us, the Nazis. We are the higher powers, and you have to subject. And she's answering with the same Bible verse because she says, wait. Continue reading. Keep continue. What is reading? For there is no power but of God. Here it says we should subject the higher powers, but first we should subject God. So sorry, we will not follow you because first of Corinthians, and now Magdalena is starting. First of Corinthians 14:33 is reading, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Where is the peace that you Nazis wants to give? You want war. You don't want peace. You want war. And we should obey the God of peace, not the ones who wants war. And even God said to us in Ephesians 6, verse 11 and 12, Ephesians 6, verse 11 and 12, that we have to put the whole armor of God so that we will be able to stand against the devil. Because we don't fight against flesh and blood. No, we fight against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We are fighting you. God said that we need a whole armor to fight you Nazis. You are the powers, you are the darkness of this world. We will fight you. This is great. I love that. This is really great. She is not, she has no fear. She says him in his face, we are fighting you. How would Hugo answer that? What Bible verse will he use now? Oh, no Bible verse. No. He realized he can't. He don't know how to answer. He's not as smart as he thought. A simple woman destroyed this high educated teacher. So he says, okay, woman, if you will not follow, you will get no food. You will get no clothes. So he's threatening him. And that's interesting. A bully is always doing this. When he's lost his arguments, then he became, yeah, brutal. The answer of Magdalena is still a Bible verse. She keeps using Bible verses. Matthew 16. Matthew 16:26. And it's reading there, for what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? So why should we have all this stuff that you promise us? And then we will lose our soul. So we will lose our connection to our God, Jehovah. We will not, even if I will have the whole world and lose my friendship to my God, what sense it makes? So the answer is we don't want your material stuff. We don't want that. So how you wanna force us? So he's threatening. So I will beat you. I will put you in isolation. I will destroy you mentally. I will not allow you to write letters to your family. So as you can see, he can't. he, he's a coward, but not Magdalena. She's answering with a Bible verse, Luke 6:22. Blessed are you when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil. She's saying, yeah, do what you want. Then we are blessed. I like that. I really like that. It's the Nazis tried and tried, but it's so easy with just 6 Bible verses how she proved what is right and what is wrong. So the witnesses did not join the Winter Relief Organization. Let's move on to the year 1937. Let me just check. How is Fumiko doing? Yes, okay, good. 1937. So interesting is that according to the files, 71 Jehovah's Witnesses have been released between 35 and 36. But from 1937, there are no releases anymore, no dismissal. Right? Why? Because there was a decree on April 22, 1937, that all Jehovah's Witnesses are to be taken into protective custody after serving their sentences, and transfer to a concentration camp should be applied. So 239 Jehovah's Witnesses came in the end of this year to the next concentration camp, to the next female concentration camp called Lichtenburg. And interesting is that we have in 1937 more arrests of female Jehovah's Witnesses. So before that, we talked about there was a high number of Jehovah's Witnesses in this camp. But suddenly from 37, we have an increase of numbers all around Germany of more women imprisoned. Why? Why? Because the Nazis ruled already 4 years and they arrested a lot of their men, right? So when all these men were in prison and who were in charge, elders, circuit overseers, whatever, who did the job? The woman, the sisters. The sisters did the job. So this is a little bit different generation of Jehovah's Witnesses. We are not saying that the other ones were bad. No, no, no. But this generation is now different. They are more active, a lot of more active. They are more zealous. They were the female elders, you can say, the female circuit overseers, right? So from 1937, there are some female Jehovah's Witnesses who are imprisoned now until the end of the Nazi time. So they are imprisoned for 8 years in different concentration camps. Like, for example, Ellie Reulecke. She was imprisoned, and she says that, oh, we did pretty good there because I had my circle, so she was like a circle overseer outside, and now I had the circle inside. So I could keep doing what I did before when I was arrested. We had Bibles, we had Bible studies, everything. Another woman that was imprisoned, her name was Berta Maura. She said, for example, that the children of that city, Moringen, they were playing a game where they imitated the arrest of Bible students. And we have also another female Jehovah's Witness. Her name was Emmy Leerbach. And she also said, yeah, the separation of the family was hard. It was fresh. I was very homesick for the children. So, yes, there was a lot of crying. So they were courageous. They were faithful women, but still they had feelings, right? They were sad if something didn't went. But what is also interesting that Jehovah's Witnesses were, or this female Jehovah's Witnesses, the sisters, were also writing poems. poems and this in this camp. And so they're of course in German. I have some translated in English, and let's read some. Let's just read some. But before we do that, let's do a 2, 3 minutes break. We have a storm in Germany. We have a storm, and I hear something. I think I have to check maybe to close the windows or something. Okay, so let's do a 2 minutes break. 2 minutes break, and we will move on. I just closed all the windows and then we move on. Okay? Yeah? Good. Okay. See you in 2 minutes. Welcome back. So we have been here. So let's wait for Fumiko and then. Okay, great. Yeah, maybe a little bit also about that storm that I was talking about. We have this week. It's a brutal. It was a brutal week. Monday was a huge storm in Berlin. A woman died. A tree fell on her. Uh, Friend of mine, so maybe you know that I'm doing also movies with kids. I did a movie about the Berlin Wall and now another one about the goldfish pond. And one of the kids, also a tree fell on him, happily not on his head, very close, but on his arm. And he, yeah, got injured on his arm and some muscle problems. And on Thursday was another storm. So also the meetings were canceled. Basically, really thousands of trees here in Berlin got destroyed, crazy. In Sachsenhausen, in the concentration camp, one of the building, the roof got destroyed. So Sachsenhausen has now a problem, and yeah, this will cost a little bit. And yeah, let's see about future tours. So yeah, crazy week, crazy, crazy, brutal week. Just a little bit of wind, and that's it, right? And you can't do anything. It's very interesting to see that we are helpless, helpless to the nature, definitely. Oh wait, I sorry, I clicked somewhere. Sorry, my mistake. I forced somebody to open the mic. Was not my intention. Sorry. Okay, so you should see now. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the poem. I will just read the poem, and Fumiko, I hope, follow the translation you have. Um, we live during the day which God created, and the time when Satan put us behind bars. His devilish plan is for us to perish, but by God's mercy we shall prevail. Therefore, have joy in your heart, and let your grief be. Jehovah will rescue us. Soon we'll return home. When we stroll with many through the park, and all our longing is very strong, whether the day be gray or sunny, whether our mouth smiles or our eyes cry, let this rhyme shout from one mouth to another. Jehovah will rescue us. Soon we return home. Time passes by, time passes week by week, yet Jehovah's justice lasts forever, and his love reaches us even here. We know and believe that there is salvation only with the Lord. We desire to be faithful only to him. Jehovah will rescue us. Soon we return home. Whether we are imprisoned or we are free, we only want to be children of Jehovah. To live as his witnesses, how wonderful that time will be when all in the temple cry out, "Oh, what glory!" It is our prayer. Yours alone be all honor. Jehovah will rescue us. Soon we'll return home. Jehovah's King will stand up in glorious splendor to overthrow Satan with his might. He will crush his nefarious head, and we will finally see what we've already put our faith in. We are promised that God hears our outcries. Therefore, we believe with all our heart. Soon we'll return home. And there are much, much more poems. I will show you later a book also where you can read more of them about also yeah strong female woman like Anna Remi who wrote, if one did not have the promise and the firm trust in God, one could not endure being so torn away from all loved ones. So it was hard, but the trust in God helped them. Lina Franke wrote, there is salvation in no other than in Jesus Christ and Jehovah God. People will experience that for themselves in the near future. She was sure about that. Amalie Pellen wrote a letter to her daughter also, where she wrote, um, for her sister, her daughter, don't hang your head, don't be sad, right? For years I told you that if I refuse to deny the Almighty God and His word, I will be persecuted. And then she says about the Bible verse, be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. He has guided me my whole life. And there were more other women, more and more women who were refusing, who were fighting against the Nazis. But I want to talk now a little bit about these women. For example, this one's Amanda Neumuth or Berta Henning or Caroline Dietz or Marie Leininger. They did something that maybe you will be surprised. I'm sure that you heard about the declaration, right? The Nazis wrote a declaration where Jehovah's Witnesses could refuse to be a Jehovah's Witness. And if you read documents or if you read the Watchtower, then it says, oh, it's less than 1%. Just a few, only a few, signed the declaration. But these four women, and also Paula Fiebig, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, signed it. And we know that around 13% of all the women and men signed that declaration. So something is wrong. If the Watchtower says only a few, and I'm saying 13%, that's not a few. So who's lying? Who is telling the truth? And the answer is nobody is lying, and both the Watchtower and I'm telling the truth. How is that possible? Because there have been different declarations. So when you are interested in the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, then you heard about the declaration. And you know what's written a little bit in this declaration, right? I realized that the Jehovah's Witnesses are not the truth. They are fighting the state. I don't want to be a witness. I will not be a witness anymore, or Bible student. And I will support, in case of war, with a gun in my hand, the German fatherland. This is the declaration that we talked about. And that one, only a few signed. But before this one was written, Hugo Krak in this concentration camp started the idea of a declaration. And the first two versions were a little bit different. And that's the one that these 13% signed. And I want to read these declarations now to you. And you think for yourself, just for yourself, would I sign that or not? I will tell you also what I would do, okay? So just for yourself, think about, would you sign that declaration? So in prison, you imagine you're in a concentration camp, you're Jehovah's Witness, you believe what you believe, and now Hugo Krak is coming to you and ask you, do you want to sign that? And if yes, you can go home. You will be free. Okay. So first declaration, We know was December 14th, 1937. December 14th, 1937. And the first declaration, the first version of the declaration was written this: After my release from protective custody, I refrain from the subversive and seditious activity. I have been informed that I have no claims for compensation against the state due to the protective custody that I has taken place. I can voluntarily submit myself to political detention if my security seems threatened. Hmm. Would you sign that or not? Let's think about. Let's talk about the first sentence. After my release from protective custody, I refrain from the subversive and seditious activity. So, what you have done, you were preaching to the people about God. You were reading from the Bible and you were talking about paradise and a better future. Hmm. Is this subversive and seditious activity? Is this an activity that you want to destroy a government? No, I don't care. I'm just telling the people about the future in paradise. Okay, so I'm not doing subversive and seditious activity. Okay, I would sign that. So a lot of witnesses signed that. And Hugo Clark realized, oh man, it's not working. Okay, I have to put some more sentences in this. So 1 week later, the 20th of December, you have the same sentence. You can see this here, right? This is what I wrote to you. This is what I translated. And now he put in that sentence, you can see he put it more because you see the difference, right? You have more space and now you have more sentences here. So what is written here? The second part. I have been aware of the consequences of renewed activity for the IBF, so the International Bible Student Association, Jehovah's Witnesses. I have been informed that an omission of propaganda is insufficient, but that I am expected to turn away from the IBV, International Bible Student Association, completely. I was told that the protective custody order would only be lifted if my behavior was impeccable, and that, in the opposite case, I would have to recon with my arrest if there was even the slightest reason. Okay, would you sign that? Think for yourself, your decision. Let's think about why a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses sign that. So you say, yeah, but he says that I should turn away from the Bible students, right? Does this really say that? No, it says that I have been informed that I am expected to turn away from Jehovah's Witnesses. I signed that. It's not saying that I will turn away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. No, no, it's saying that you want that I will turn away. But it's not saying that I will do that. So that's why also a lot of witnesses signed that declaration, 13%. And they realized, the Nazis realized, oh, it's not working. They signed this, we let them go, and they're still preaching. And they have a good conscience. So, yeah, I never said I would stop. I just said that I confirmed that you told me that you want me to stop. But I never confirmed that I will stop. And then, after that, the Nazis rewrite a new declaration where it's saying, I will stop to be a witness. I will take a gun in my hand. If any witness would talk to me, them to prison. And that declaration, that's the one that only a few signed. Because now they said, no, okay, I don't sign that. So if somebody will tell you in the future, yeah, I heard that witnesses signed a lot of these declarations, then you have to ask, okay, yeah, which one? Which year? 37, 1937, or 1938? Because if we talk about the 1937 declaration, yeah, they signed a lot of them. Because, yeah, makes sense. But if we talk about 1938, nope, there were not a lot. I like that. I really like that. It makes me thinking about reading good, right? Thinking what is written there, what I would do, what I would do. It's a great explanation of these female Jehovah's Witnesses to think about that. But that's, yeah, that was December 37. And as I said, it ends. Hans Hugo Krak did not achieve what he wanted. He could not train these women. So from now on, in 3 transports, from the end of 1937, December, and then next year, February, March, the inmates were transferred to the next concentration camp, to Lichtenburg, close to Leipzig. This camp now became the Central Woman concentration camp. And Moringen was closed and became later the youth concentration camp. And now all the female Jehovah's Witnesses are now in Lichtenburg. And in the future, I hope to give you a tour about Lichtenburg. Not I hope, I will. I will give you a tour. What happens to these women there? But what is very, very interesting about this camp is they have been imprisoned because of their resistance, right? They were preaching, they were disobeying the law to preach, to talk about God, about the Bible. And interesting is that they remained resistant inside the concentration. They have been fighting the Nazis outside, and these women were fighting the Nazis also inside. They tried to convince them, right, with the Winter Relief Organization. It didn't work. So the Nazis were still trying to fight Jehovah's Witnesses from 1937 in these concentration camps. And it's not a coincidence that we have now so many women imprisoned because, yeah, they did the work. When the husbands were in prison, it did not stop. It did not stop. The women were still organizing meetings, having circuits, organizing the preaching. They were the same active and strong and courageous as the men. Sometimes you can even say even more. And they also knew how to read exactly what to sign, what not to sign, and that's why it was changed later. So the Nazis tried and tried and tried in different ways to stop these women. But as we can see, nope, it didn't work. They had a strong faith, had a very strong faith. They were smart. They knew the Bible. They knew what is written there. They read it. And that's why I think these are or were women of faith. And it's worth to remember them and to talk about them. So thank you. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for joining. Um, if you want to stay, please stay. We will do some question and answer section right now. If you have some questions, I'm happy to answer that. Before that, I also want you to show also my website again. When, here we go. Where's my website? My website again for more information, for example, when will be the next tour or how you can, for example, support and donate. So if you go on the website, let me see, do I have Japanese? Yes, I have, but I think it's a Google translation. No, but it's an older version. So what's the website? It's history of jw.tours. Let me send this in the link, right? Let me in the chat. Let me send this in the chat. His history of jw.tours. So this is the English version. Here we go. And for so if you want to come to Berlin, you're very free, welcome to visit Berlin. Here you can change in Japanese. I'm happy to give you a tour. If you want to support, there are different ways to support. You can. I need a lot of books, so you can click on this here, donate a book, and there's an Amazon list of books that I want to read for my research. So if you buy that, then you can, Amazon will send this book to my home. So that's a way you can support, or you click also on the blue button, and then it's a page where you can send some money monthly or one time, or you can also buy a book. So I have this, what we talk right now, in German, English, and soon also in Japanese. Half of it is already translated. A book with the comments, with the poems and stuff. It's just 30 pages. Oh, it's wrong. It's 2019. It's 30. It's a little bit more. It's 30 pages. I will in English and in German and in Japanese soon. So you can also buy that. And or if you're here on my Ko-fi website, I will send this also here. Give me a second. There's also the possibility of a German bank account, USA, UK, and so on. So how you get this information? Go on my website, history of jw.tours. You can choose Japanese. If you go Japanese, click on this blue button. This blue button is the one. If you're in English, you have here also donation, or you go down, down, down. Oh, it's not here. Yeah. And that's donation button. And then you have also this blue. If you want to get in contact with me, write me a message. Here's my WhatsApp number. Here's my email address. Here's my Instagram. Feel free to write me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help you. And I'm also thankful for any support, especially if you want to buy this book. I have these books also on Amazon. I have these books also on Amazon, printed, if you want to print them. If you want a printed version, so this is a digital version. If you want a printed version, they are also on Amazon. But as I said, not in Japanese yet. Here we go. That's the link. So, Woman in Faith in English. And when I finish the Japanese translation, I will put this also here. So you can also buy that. Also a printed version in Japan. Oh, I already got a review. That's cool. That's my first review. Woohoo! That's pretty cool. I didn't saw that before. Oh, I got you also review. That's cool. Yeah, I am new to this book stuff and so on, so that's pretty cool. So let me send you this link also in the chat, and yeah, there will be also a Japanese version sooner. So this is how you can support me. History of jw.tours. So I will stop now the recording. I will stop also now on YouTube. So first, let's stop the recording. Thank you very much. Recording stop. And thank you everybody on YouTube who watched, and see you